Good evening, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Mosaic with TJ Randolph. And welcome to Cocktails and Conversations. Thank you for joining me. I'm gonna go ahead and give a couple of disclaimers right now. We got a thunderstorm going on here, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to stay connected through this broadcast. Um, Also, because of the thunderstorm, my canine son is very afraid. He is right underneath my feet right now, right now. So hopefully he won't, be barking and doing stuff crazy. Um, Let me give a couple of hellos. Shout out Nisi Poo. Good evening, Miss Riley. So, okay, I got to give my announcement. First and foremost, shout out to my hardworking trucker man who's on these highways and byways, and to also all the truckers that are on these highways and byways bringing us our much needed goods. Okay. Shout out to my nephew, my firstborn nephew, my child before I had a child, Rhyan Spunk Adams on the horn. You can follow him on IG at I am Spunk. His music can be found on Spotify and Apple Music. Shout out to Micki-Redd Creates, who is my branding manager, who is taking care of all the thumbnails and the intros and all that kind of stuff because I don't know how to do none of it. So I thank her. Let's see what else we got. Oh, listen, I've started a new channel separate from this because I'm not trying to mess up the algorithm. But I have recently started doing music and video reactions. I know it's crazy. So I'm doing music and video reactions from the soundtrack of my life. So from the 70s all the way up to 2005. I'm not going past 2005 because the music is trash after that. But again, when I was growing up in LA, when I moved to Oklahoma, the songs that were out when we were in college, and I'm trying to grow y'all. I'm trying to hip y'all to some real music because y'all know nothing about it. Okay. I'm trying to grow you. So I put the link to my channel in the description. It is called TJ Randolph's Music Vault. So I invite you to go check that out. I'm doing some reactions. And also what I'm doing is some comparisons from the original versions of a song to any remakes that were done because y'all youngins think that y'all the first to do some stuff and y'all don't even know y'all might be listening to remakes. Y'all call them covers, we call them remakes. So that's what we're gonna do. But tonight, I have my soror. Y'all saw her a couple of weeks ago when I had my three OU sisters there. We were talking about some stuff, and also I did a subsequent reaction to the video about show some respect because as it relates to image and what KS was talking about in a recent video when he called in to address this young man about image and there was a miscommunication. So in that conversation, my soror Toya was talking about, she was giving some insights from the perspective of, uplift versus correction and a combination of both, but she can say it better than I can. So without further ado, I'm going to bring to the stage Toya Dumas Robinson. So let's welcome her, shall we?
Hello, 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 everyone.
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
Well, my sister, my beautiful sister, you look amazing.
We're right back at you. It's that Mr. Randolph glow.
Oh, I
You
love
know,
it. I love it.
that
I
Mr.
love it.
Randolph glow.
Thank you so
Yes.
much for having me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, absolutely. Because when I did the subsequent reaction after our conversation,
Mhm.
there were a couple of people who put in the chat that they would love to hear more from you, specifically Chicago Rilla. Shout out Chicago Rilla if he's in here. Let me say a couple of hellos. Hello, and charge it to my heart, not well, my head, not my heart. If I miss some chat because we're gonna be going into this conversation here. So, um, what I want to do really quick, I'm going to capture a snippet of that last video I did.
Okay.
Whereas you were in the chat, hey, Mandrell, we're going to get you married, son. Nephew, we're going to get you married. I'm trying to tell you. But we got to grow you because you get in your own way. I'm just saying. You think too much. It's that military thing. I know it's hard. I know it's hard, but we think too much. So let me share my screen. Okay. Hey, Luke Hazley. Here we go. Do. So here it is.
then I automatically shut up because they led by example. If you're saying you gave somebody respect and they were just horrific and came with malice intent and just came domineering and everything like that, that's on you. That wasn't how I was raised. No, I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying, and of course, we all have elders. Well, most of us, if you're lucky. But you know, I saw both of them. I saw some. I've had some elders who took a very do as I say, not as I do approach. Doesn't matter what you see me do. Doesn't matter what you see anyone else do. You do what I tell you to do. And then I had parents, who are like, okay, do you see me doing that crazy stuff? Do you see me talking this way or that? No, okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop it right there on that on this thing here. But before we do that, I apologize. I got ahead of myself. Toya, for those who didn't chime in, who didn't see us last time, tell them a little bit about yourself and how we know each other. I'm tripping.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Toya Dumas Robinson, as Terry has already introduced. And so Terry was my big sister. She pledged Delta Sigma Theta, pledged me into the greatest sorority known to man. And so that's how we met, actually, on the campus of the University of Oklahoma, spring 90. And subsequently, she also introduced me to the man who would become my now husband of almost 24 years. So she was my special, my big sister, Black Panther, and just an all around beautiful woman inside and out. So that's how we know each other.
She
Significant.
putting a little, she putting a little extra sugar on it because I was.
Well,
Yeah.
she was known for handling her business. That's all. She was known for handling her business.
Okay. So during this video, we were talking about the situation with the young man Sway, and how in this particular instance, Kevin came in and just basically went up one side and down the other where this young man was concerned,
Right.
and not giving him an opportunity to even rebut. So when in that you wrote, there has to be a balance between correction and uplift.
Absolutely.
He has very little balance. Elaborate on that statement a little bit more if you don't mind.
Well, there's I believe that the older generation, which is us, and this is biblical, that we're
Mhm.
supposed to, reach back and pull those that come behind us with us,
Mhm.
to help them, to give them input as to what should and should not be. And concerning KS, um, he's missing the opportunity to actually correct or to give some insight of what he's been through, what he knows, what he's seen and experienced.
Mhm.
He goes to just kind of demeaning and tearing down instead of giving a little correction. Yes, young lady, that's wrong. Yes, young man, I wouldn't agree with that, but here's a suggestion. That's the up.
Mhm.
Here's something that maybe you should think on. So he's missing the opportunities to actually teach
Right.
the young people and give them a little bit of correction, because I think we all need it. I don't care how old we are
Right.
with that. Uh, And he's not balancing that out at all. I've not seen a lot of it. I'll say that.
And you and I were talking about that. And again, this is not about KS in its entirety. We were talking about how when people call in, you don't know what they're bringing with them. You don't know what kind of trauma that they have suffered, what
Absolutely.
kind of, whether it be man or woman. Because as you and I were talking last week, and we were kind of regaling ourselves of some of the memories of our youth, we did we did some crazy stuff, not realizing part of the reason we were doing the crazy stuff is because of the trauma. We were already feeling bad about ourselves anyway, even though we put this front on like we had it all together. We were a shell of a person. So if we would have got in contact with someone like a KS,
Absolutely not.
how might we have handled that?
Not well at all. I think it would have been just another kick while I'm down, to further dig the grave that we were already digging. And I think that's where the opportunity is lost to
Mm-hmm.
uplift. That's that, the correction versus the uplift. Um, I don't think we would have handled that well at all.
No, and I think in there, I'm not going to go too much in the video, but one of the things truth is never favorite stated that um, even he and I, he's one of my adopted YouTube nephews who he and I do this often,
Mm-hmm.
but it got to a point that I couldn't even speak into his life until I got to know him.
Right.
There are some surface level things that if someone calls in, I'm going to give a surface level because there's only so much that I can force them to eat
Right.
because I don't know them.
Know them. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
And because I don't know them, I don't know, am I going to just, excuse me, audience, shit on them, shit on them?
Yep. Yeah.
So, what have been your experiences with respect to working with, or communicating with, or growing
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
our next generation? What has been your perspective on that, or your experience?
That's a heavy question. I feel, the younger generation, each generation always has something to say about that generation that is coming along. Our parents too.
Yes.
And even, I don't want to get religious here, but even the Bible says they get more wicked and more wise. Each generation does. And
Mm.
that's what we are, seeing now with my son, probably your daughter's generation. They are, they're presented with so much information daily,
Mm-hmm.
and that's keeping them wiser. But it's also making them a little bit more wicked because they're getting ideas somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And although we've raised them, reared them to have certain values and certain, things about themselves, that outside influence is so heavily prevalent in their lives. And then you got the internet, you have all of this social media that bombards daily. So I don't know how really that's something I've been pondering as I think about my next. What do I do next to help empower our community and our younger people?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have an answer for it. But I know that we do need to do a lot more of the uplifting part of, in order for them to listen.
Yes, absolutely. And you make a really good point. I think about when growing up, and it's always, well, mom, dad, you don't understand. It was different in your time.
Oh gosh,
I
man.
said that to my mom. My mother said that to my grandfather. My daughter says it to me. And it's true. It was different. But to your point, with each generation, we become smarter because of the things and the information and the resources that are available to us. But I wonder if we really become wiser.
So
Because we think we know more than them.
Absolutely. Because we've gotten a little, my dad used to say, and I posted this on my Facebook page, I think yesterday or a couple of days ago, that some people are just smart enough to be stupid.
Ooh.
And what that means is, and he used this, because I said, Dad, what does that mean? He said, you can give someone a little bit of information about the functions of the heart, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden they become heart surgeons. They know everything about how to the heart is this, or they can operate, or they can, just a little bit of information, just enough to think that you are absolutely the expert in that, field now. And so we're seeing this. We're seeing this play out on social media and, with certain now being branded relationship experts. We're seeing that out in the.
But you don't have one.
No.
Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry. That was my
But it's
inside voice.
it is the truth. It is the entire truth. But there's nothing new under the sun. That's what I used to tell my son all the time. We have more information, we have greater technology, we have, a little bit more knowledge of things. There's nothing new under the sun. So the things that my parents dealt with, sex, drugs, it may have been in a different form, but
Right.
there was some form of
Peer
it.
pressure.
Yes,
Pressure. And here's the
absolutely.
thing. I will say one thing that is prevalent now that I couldn't have even imagined, as far as the bullying, if you will. We had the bullying, but it was localized.
Right.
You can be bullied worldwide.
It's a global epidemic.
I couldn't have even imagined
Yeah.
such a thing. So when I hear, now that part I do have to take a hold to, because there's no way I could really grasp that when my child is saying, or my niece who's about to graduate high school, I can't grasp that.
Right.
You understand me? But the essence of bullying is still the same, but the magnitude is so much greater.
Oh
But you
my.
make a good point too, because again, you say you can read a little bit of something, you think you're an expert.
Mhm.
Parenting.
Phew.
My daughter had my granddaughter, and she researches, but I'm trying to tell her, well, no, because it says here, blah blah blah. I'm thinking, well, I did have you, and you're still here. So maybe, I understand, but that don't mean what I'm telling you is wrong. because again, you're here, and I had you, and I, all these things, and you are healthy. But again, because, well, no, because someone's, at some point I just stopped talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because I was the same way until, my son came, and my mom would come over every morning to, kind of show me how to clean them up and, all of that. And I'd be like, well, mom, it says here, we shouldn't. She says, well, okay, well, you go ahead with that book knowledge. Go ahead with that book knowledge. And I don't need to come over. If you have the answers, then I don't. No, mom. Look, I take it back. I take it
Yes,
back. I take it back.
yes,
But yeah, we think we know more and we all, I think, have gone through that. We all have to
yeah.
kind of appreciate the process.
I keep missing this question. Ace Butterfly asked this question: is there a difference in how to correct a man versus a woman?
Hmm. That's a very good question. I would say I always use this. There's layers to it. So there's not a yes or no answer necessarily. Men and women process information differently. That is a scientific biological fact.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in that regard, the answer is yes. Um, my son, he is male. I send him a long text message. He's not reading that. He's not gonna. He's not gonna digest that. That's just
Right.
too much. Same thing with my husband as a male. Too much words, too many words, too much conversation.
Right.
Women, yes, we go into detail with everything. So in that regard, yeah, there is a difference in how we correct a man and a woman. But then you have to know that man, like you said earlier, you have
Mm-hmm.
to know them to understand what then may be the correct way to go about the corrections, how to get them to listen. So
And that's a good question because I think about, I just have a girl, but my husband has two girls and a son.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has the two son-in-laws. He has, my daughter's husband. Well, he has Danielle's husband and then our other daughter, Candace's husband.
Okay.
His approach to the men is very different.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
But again, my husband is old school, who was raised by an old school father.
Right.
So his approach with the men in our family is very different.
Yeah.
His approach is a lot more gingerly with our daughters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The message is still there, but he's very gingerly with them. Right. It don't mean that he don't pull no punches in the sense of how he approaches. I mean, the overall message, if you will.
Right.
But he does not come with the same that he right. Because he believes, and again, whether you agree with it or not, men, that's just the way it is. Yeah. He believes that the men should be able to take it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I saw too, because I grew up in a traditional household. And so I was the only girl, youngest of 3 children, 2 brothers, older brothers. And my dad and mom's approach were different in how they disciplined us, how the chores were, divided up. It was a lot of traditional, old school, as you stated, stuff.
Right. So with that, that's where, again, because I'm willing to bet, because Toya was a daddy's girl, yes, you could get away with things that your brother couldn't. Just on the strength, you were daddy's little girl. You don't like it, man. I'm sorry, that's the way it is.
Truth. I mean, truth. But I also made different choices.
Speak on that.
You can grow up in a household with siblings, same blood, same values, same standards, same requirements, expectations, all of that. And 3 different people turn out 3 totally different ways.
True.
And it's not as simple, because being in the mental health field, I've learned to not oversimplify answers. Okay. And so that's why I always disclaim and say, there are layers to it. It's not as simple as yay, nay. But choices play a huge part in how we, manage to take our paths. Not saying that makes you better or wiser or smarter. It may just make you lucky, or what I would say, blessed. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I feel like in my household. The difference between my brothers and I, it wasn't that we had any difference in discipline or uplift. I keep using that word, but right. We all made different choices, and those choices led us to the lives in which we live now. Okay. But yes, my dad and mom were a little more lenient with me than my brothers. You know why? Because when they had me, they were older. And they would say, hey, I'm tapped out now. It's kind of like, okay, go ahead. Nope. Yep. I still had correction. I still had discipline and expectations and curfew. But yeah, they were a little bit lenient. A little lenient, more lenient with me. Honestly.
You make a good point, because my mom is the baby, and she got away with things that my aunt and my uncle couldn't, because I think my grandfather was in his 40s when he had her.
Yes. Yeah. My dad was 44. Yeah. He had turned 44 the day before I was born, because our birthdays are a day apart.
Aww. Okay, let me read this. Arm says, I'm quite, quote unquote, masculine in that when my mom texts me a chapter in a novel, I glance at it and listen. You know what? Listen, I'm the same way though.
Yes, you get to there. Yes, you do.
I'm like, can you give me the Cliff Notes version,
Yes. Bottom
or
line it
just
already.
call me?
Yes.
I'm like, I
Yes.
ain't reading that. So I guess I'm masculine too.
No, I think
Ace, go ahead,
we
babe.
just get to a point where now I'm at an age, my tolerance level. That's what it is. Yes. Like I don't need all of that bottom line and I don't have time to hear all of that. So yeah, I get it.
My thing is like, is this going to be a long story? That's like, is this going to be a long story? Okay, Ace Butterfly is asking, what does Toya think about mental health issues in Black YouTube?
So I would have to know Black YouTube. You have to educate me. What's Black YouTube? Is it kind of like Black Twitter?
Kind of, sort of.
So can you give me a
Let's talk.
little?
The Black YouTube will be the KSs, would be the Angry Mans, would be the Obsidians, would be, I guess, would be me, would be Courtney Michelle, which is basically Black content creators, if you will. So
Gotcha.
I think so.
Okay. So I am a true advocate, and I think this is what kind of sparked this conversation for tonight,
Mm-hmm.
about addressing your what they call adverse. It's called ACE, ACE, adverse childhood experiences. I think to some level, some degree, we all have had them, right? Something that has happened that has traumatized us, and it may be subconscious or unconscious, or we've not dealt with it, and then it shows up in our lives somewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
so I see a lot of what I believe to be trauma that has not been dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be diplomatic here.
Keep it 1,000 up in here.
Look, I'm trying to be diplomatic. But yeah, I see some unresolved BS, some trauma that I see bitterness, I see hurt, I see lashing out. And so I believe, I've been in the mental health space about 25 years plus. Um, can you teach an old dog new tricks? That depends. That depends on the
I'm
old
an old
dog.
dog and I learned.
Yeah, I learned it. That's why I say it depends on the old dog, what
Right.
breed they are of. But yeah, I think that and that's one of the things that we were saying about the men. Men don't face their mental health issues as welcoming as we do as women, and that's statistical. I know
Mm-hmm.
KS likes to spit out stats. I don't have them, but that is a statistical fact that women will seek therapeutic methods of dealing with their trauma versus men.
So with that,
Yeah.
we were talking about some of our college days
Yes.
and some of our relationship experiences. And you shared about a relationship. I'm like, get the F out of here. That, that didn't happen. Get the F out of here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So give a high level view of what we were talking about and how it, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, it's no secret, if you will. I was, kind of in a relationship, and I'm not coming here. Let me put the disclaimer. I'm not coming here to smear anyone's name or to play victim. That was 30 years ago. But there was, domestic violence, and it was very traumatic on both sides, me and the person that I dated. But there were ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, that played a role in my life and in his, and they collided. And it was generational for that person in terms of the domestic violence. And so we almost were not the University of Oklahoma students anymore.
That floored me when you told me, I'm like, get the F out of here.
Yes, we had to go before appeal boards, and it just was a very, very ugly situation. But that is also a testament to what those, childhood traumas can do to you if you don't address them. And I'm hoping that this person had. I hope they have addressed it, but it was a continuation, generation to generation to generation. And if that's all you've seen, that's all you know, you either become that person or the exact opposite. Very seldom do people fall in between.
And you make a good point. Now, RM, are you saying do they need counseling or is it Jesus Christ? Is that what I'm understanding, JC? Because I would say maybe both.
Both. Hello.
So,
Girl, both with robust. Yes, both.
So, with that situation,
Mhm.
didn't you say that was your first introduction to counseling when that happened?
Absolutely. It
Can you
was.
tell a little bit about that?
Sure. That was my absolute first therapeutic, especially as an individual. Now, I have a brother who has mental health issues all his life, so we were kind of in family therapy for that. But this was the first introduction to me as an individual, and I knew then I went into it with that what our culture is very well known for. I was very guarded. I'm not crazy. Why do I need therapy?
Right.
Oh, okay. I'm going through this because I don't want to get kicked out of school. But once I got in and kind of got a feel of the process and what it was, I became a little more comfortable with it. I learned a lot about my own trauma, about how that was manifesting in this situation and how we were just feeding off of each other's traumas and things that were unresolved that we hadn't dealt with. I realized I didn't trust a man my entire life. I hadn't. And so that was showing up in all of my relationships.
Wait a minute. Whoa, 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 whoa. You said you realized you didn't trust a man and you had your dad was like the epitome
Yeah,
of of what a man should be for his family.
absolutely.
And you're saying that you realized that you didn't trust men after having that type of example?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Because contrary to popular belief, every marriage goes through storms.
Yes.
Some a little heavier than others. My parents were no exemption from that. So there were things that I saw. I won't get too deeply into it,
Yeah.
but there were things that I saw that I didn't know. Like I said, it could be, subconsciously. It affects you.
Yeah.
You may not think it does. Okay, that's just normal. That's what it is. That's how mom and dad get down.
Right.
But when it starts manifesting in areas of your life that become a repeat, story, then you face it and it's like, wow, okay. And so I had to face that. I had to deal with that very early. But it wasn't until after I was married that it really kicked me like a donkey. In terms of having to face it and deal with it and really do the work. So, yeah, he was the epitome of a man. He was a pastor, a pillar in our community. But as we've seen, over the course of history, that doesn't make a man perfect.
Because there is no perfect man, no perfect woman, there's no perfect person.
No. And
it doesn't mean that they're not good people either.
Absolutely not. And I love my daddy with my entire heart. But there were some things that were missing. Some things that were missing. And I felt some of the effect of that.
It's funny that you say that because I talk about some of the things that I experienced. And I've said it jokingly when KS has talked about the kind of women that were at OU's campus and would be in his face and just this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh, that's probably, was talking about probably me. And and one of the reasons I became that person is because I saw the things that my mother endured.
Yeah. Yes.
In relationships. I saw my mother be dependent on, a man that she loved who professed to love her, but he beat her.
Mm.
Beat her.
Mm.
Stomping in the face beating.
Mm.
I have a scar that I've had on my right arm since I was 16 years old from protecting my mom from this man that was beating her, and I got cut in the process.
Oh my God.
So to that point, I'm like, I'm never gonna let that happen to me. So I'll be damned.
Mm-hmm.
So that made me a lot more aggressive.
Yeah. Than
it probably should have. But again, I was determined. But again, not even being diagnosed or realizing what it was, that was my way of protecting myself. But protecting myself was also pushing people away too, to keep you right here.
But you didn't know.
I didn't.
Certainly, you didn't know. Yeah. And that's the thing, I think, as a culture of people, we are so conditioned to be fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. That's the rehearsed answer. Oh, I'm fine. We have to be strong. We have to be, these pillars of strength for everybody. But, I guess the time my back is tired. I am tired of carrying the load. And that's okay. It's okay for us not to be okay. It's okay.
It says the black men online seem to be very angry and bitter that their father was not in their life. They blame their mom. Ace Butterfly, I would agree.
Yeah.
Take that with you. I would agree. And here's the thing. I don't think, and even I don't begin for a moment to suggest that my mom is without fault or my dad was without fault, because both parents played a role in the things that I needed that I didn't get.
Right.
But like it or not, the person who was there was my mother.
Yeah, that's true.
And again, I'm not saying that I don't agree or I don't believe that there are some women who are bitter in their own right and they use their children as pawns, that they don't, particularly if the child looks like the father, so you ain't ish, you just like it. I don't disagree with that. I know that happens.
Oh yeah,
I know that it happens. But what I will submit to those individuals, just like women need to get the therapy to get over their daddy issues, hello, y'all men need to get some therapy to get over your mama issues.
Oh, come on. Look, take your text, girl. Take your text and preach on it.
That's all I'm saying. Y'all need to go ahead and get growed to that.
Yeah.
Because I've even said, looking back on it, and I've had a lot of conversations with my mom, and of course, if she had it to do over again, she would do things differently. Even with my daughter, but life, it's on the job training. it's on the job training
until you die.
But when I hear men in these spaces, they sound just as bitter as the women did. I'm just keeping it 1,000. Wow, y'all need to get over yourselves. We are all broken people.
Yep.
They need to be fixed.
Pride.
So when did you talked about your initial introduction to individual therapy, but when did it become your life's work and what prompted that?
Wow. So we were living in Oklahoma City. I had actually come back to Gary, which is where I'm from, everybody, Gary, Indiana. My dad had a heart attack. And, we were living, my now husband, he was my fiance at the time. my dad had started a ministry, Metropolitan Oasis, outside of the church to address some of our community issues through therapeutic and, other means. He wanted to be kind of a trailblazer in the community to introduce what was always just taboo
Right.
to us as a culture of people.
Mhm.
And when he got sick, he had just been awarded a contract with the state of Indiana. And
Mm.
the regional manager, actually, who is our soror, called and said, Toya, I know you're in the middle of your life, but is there any way that you and Eric, because Eric was getting his master's in human relations,
Mm.
that you guys can come and, just maybe get it all set up and, run the ministry for your dad. So we talked about it. I did not want to come back to Gary. That was just, oh my gosh, I do not want to go back to that scene, if you will.
Right.
But we finally made the move here. And that's how I was introduced to nonprofit and to mental health. But let me tell you, Terry and audience, I frequently, just fought it. But now I sit and I can say it was the absolute best path that God could have taken me down, because it introduced me to my own ish.
Yeah.
And then I got to understand, like, intimately my family dynamics. I got to really know my mom. I got to really know my dad, not just as mom and dad. I
Right.
got to know them as persons individually and intimately, and then began to understand why, oh, that's why you did. Oh, that. So it was kind of like that aha moment that Oprah always, said, the light bulb just kind of came on. And then I also got to, discover uh, what this thing called marriage is. And let me tell you, for those that want to get married, marriage is a reflection of who you are.
Grow them. Tell them again for the people in the back.
A reflection. I mean, mirror right here. Bam, in your face. And so that's why I always say it's important. I don't think you'll ever be, I'm not ready. I'm not this. You're not going to ever be 100% ready, because until you die, you're going to be in what I call an internal classroom of learning. But yeah. And so that's how I kind of got into, but it was the best path. It was a very difficult one. Very difficult.
Now, are you a clinician or are you an administrator?
Administrator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chef is asking, do you know the McFerrin and Neville? He meant Neville's family in Gary, Indiana. Do you know them?
No, I don't actually. I mean, I may know faces. Forgive me, I'm terrible with names. I may know faces.
Shout out to the Seattle Black veteran. Just thank you to my fellow veteran. I salute you
Oh,
up in here.
yes. Look,
So
salute.
shout out to OG Patrice, sister in the house. Yes. So you've been in administration in mental health in the past 25 years. What have you seen far as male Black men are concerned? Do you see the numbers increasing, or is it still, are we still not addressing things in our community where Black men are concerned? What are your thoughts on that?
There have been lots of initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
There's an initiative, and I can't think of it, the exact name of it right off the top of my head, but the initiative was to get Black fathers back involved with their children.
Okay.
They've been, separated from the woman, the mother of their child. And so they started an initiative to try to get men slowly back into the process of engaging with their children.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers disappointing, very low. And what the reason that we've heard most of the I guess I say excuses, they don't want to deal with the woman. Oh, if I have to deal with her, then just forget it. I'll just, to me, that's a cop out. These are children that did not ask to be here. These are the children that you created. These are the children that that God blessed you with. So in terms of men coming to mental health, a lot of the clients that came through our office were court ordered. So we may have gotten a little more participation because of that. But in terms of just volunteering no, the numbers are still disappointingly low.
Well, you said something that's very telling, because there are people in these spaces that say that, well, that a man will just throw his hands up because the woman has made it so difficult to engage with the children, and they'll just say, well, I'm just to throw my hands up and just meet them down the road, and hopefully I'll be able to explain it to them. Yeah. And even Danielle has said that she understands that concept, because again, women, I love being a woman. We can be some serious bitches. I'm just saying. Hold on, Mama Sarah. I love being a woman, but we can be some real bitches. Say it. So part of me understands that sentiment, because when we are hurt, all rationale be damned. So that is, I understand it.
Yes.
Your children are worth it, though. Yeah. But women, if you hear me, and you know women that do that crap, get your mind right. Because you're only doing yourself a disservice, because when that child finds out down the road that you kept them from their father, or you poured lies into their head about their father, the very thing that you were trying to hold on to is going to be the thing you lose.
Amen. Amen.
It's going to be the thing you lose. So get over your damn self. And here's the thing. I get it. You know, my firstborn nephew, I love him. You remember when he was a baby and I was bringing him to the campus. Yeah. That's how far we go back.
Yeah.
She remembers when he was a baby. But I've had to grow him. I'm like, you did that.
Yeah.
And I encourage him all the time when he has difficulty. I'm like, I know it's difficult. I said, but your child's not going to understand that. All he's going to know is that you weren't there.
Yep.
Even me. I wanted to know, Dad, why you weren't there. I didn't give a damn as to I don't care what you deal with my mom. Me.
I didn't ask to be here. Yeah.
You know, and just like the women, we need to, hey, birth control works. But men, you got a responsibility too.
Amen.
So, because it's not fair.
It's not.
It's not fair. Go ahead, babe.
Fairness, and so let me say this, shout this out to my brothers. The system is a bit biased.
Not a bit. Let's just it just
it is biased.
It just is.
Because I've seen, state agencies place the children back in the home with the parent, the mom, and it's a very toxic situation. And they had a very able-bodied father that was willing.
Yes.
And that was there, and that was taking all the necessary steps, to have a relationship with their children. And I've seen the system beat them down. So let me just say that the system is, it is stacked against. I get that. I'm not trying to, just a woman thing. We have to, I don't know how we correct that. I don't know how we make a difference in terms of, being a little bit more engaging and welcoming to our men.
Well, the laws need to be changed, but in the meantime, ladies,
Stop it.
if he don't want you, he don't want you no more.
Mm.
I mean, if he don't want you, he don't want you no more. But don't keep him from his child. Listen, I'm not coming self-righteous. I get it. Because I'm like, I'm going to make you love me, damn it.
Been there.
But you can't.
Yeah.
But they love that child, and don't do that. And here's the thing. If you have a man who wants to be in his child's life, because let's keep it 1,000. Well, there's some men that don't.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I'm not gonna play like that either. But if you have a man that wants to be an active father, you let them. And don't you, I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Come on.
And don't you dare relegate his importance in his child's life to how much money he's given. Don't you dare do it.
Absolutely.
That will take care of itself in the end.
Yep.
Okay? But you can't get the time back. Don't you dare do it. Okay, I'm back.
I love it.
But so that's how you got. I mean, I got off on my tangent here, but so that's how you have been in the mental health capacity. So let's talk about that. Let's kind of segue and talk about the video, my video when we were talking about image,
Okay.
and we were talking about, because I wasn't saying that I'm not negating KS's credentials as a image consultant, but the image is not just what you're wearing.
Absolutely.
The image is the whole person, which means dealing with the ace, dealing with the low self-esteem, dealing with whatever that you're just not dressing up the mess. So when we talk about the Black image as women that are in our 50s, well, I'm in my 50s. How old are you? I don't know if you're 50.
52, girl. 52.
So what are your thoughts when we think about image and mental health as it relates to Black men? What are they hand in hand? What are your thoughts here on that?
I think that that's part of the issue is the image it sends if I am in therapy, if I am seeking help, it's a image of weakness because I am a man. I should be able to process through and, have the answers to all the questions that life, sends us. And so that it weakens, in my opinion, and what I've seen, it weakens the image of the Black man. The strongest thing in my eye, and my husband is a therapist, he's a mental health therapist, he's actually a clinical director. And in my mind, the symbol of strength is that man that embraces, hey, I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the, the strength of Goliath, if you will, to handle, these problems. That in our eyes, Black men, and look, I'm going to look at the camera like my Sora did, Black men, that is the image of strength to say, I don't know it all. And I need some help. I think the image of that weakness, we have to separate out. We have to separate out this that is traumatic, yes, and deal with it. And that's something that I don't know. That's how we're going to be able to, redo that because it's conditioning. It's been conditioned from little boyhood.
And I think it's important to know you can't dress up what's broken on the inside. You can't put a suit on and say, that my image is squared away. Mandrell, would you elaborate a little bit more? You said, so what snap you lays out of your nonsense? Which nonsense are we talking about? Because we didn't talk about a whole bunch. So which, so which one? Square me away. So you can't just dress it up. And again, because the whole conversation that we were talking about was the fact that KS was basically, the young man was saying that, people don't wear suits like they do anymore. And he wasn't necessarily disagreeing with him, but he's saying that, they don't wear suits like that anymore. And
Right.
so KS is saying that if you wear a suit, you automatically are projecting this image, blah, blah, blah. And there's some pushback because, again, you can dress up some shit. It's still shit.
It's still gonna smell bad, honey.
Because if the inner man is still broken, you take that brokenness to whomever you're engaging with. You and I were talking about the Tinder swindler.
Ooh-wee.
If y'all ain't seen it, y'all better see it.
This
man was dressed to the nine. Go ahead, Toya.
No, I said exactly what you said. He was dressed to the nines. And that's how he was able, that image he was projecting looked good. And, that was part of how he was able to infiltrate.
I mean, all the accoutrements that went with this idea of I'm large and in charge. See me, love me. I have, I'm wearing these suits. I have the bodyguards, I have the private jets. I'm these, the Four Seasons and all. And again, yeah, he was, I think Israeli, but it don't matter. But he was broken completely. Let me look at a couple of comments here real quick.
Sure.
We getting into it. I'm liking it. Good evening, Global Green Book. Okay, RM say, what it do, 52?
Yes, ma'am.
I think there's a crisis,
Ooh, yeah, that's a heavy one.
And I agree because growing up, we were always taught to pray about it, pray it away.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some that still think that, or just don't, or just like Toya said, I should be able to handle it. Because I'll be honest, even as a woman, because again, it was taboo growing up, I thought that I should be able to handle certain things on my own without asking for help.
Right.
But I was drowning. And don't judge or base him being father. Yes. Exactly.
That's two totally different, separate concepts.
Completely.
Yeah.
Like I said, if he don't want you, for whatever reason, maybe you're a good woman and just whatever.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't want to work with me and Danielle's father. I still wanted him to be her father.
Right. That's important. Can I touch on that question? Was her name Mandrell?
It's his name. His name, yeah, Mandrell, yes.
Can you display that question?
Oh, wait a minute. Here he goes. He says, the aggressively independent mindset, the way you two describe the old you, it almost sounds like you were, no, I wasn't repulsed by men, but you wasn't going to punk me either.
Yeah, I wasn't repulsed.
I was, and it's not, and maybe that's the wrong word to say. I was like, because again, I did not understand the idea of submission or cooperation.
Absolutely.
And because of what I saw my mother go through and being abused physically and emotionally, I likened that to, this is what you get from being submissive. This is how you're treated because you're submissive. Yeah. Damn that. Okay, yeah. So that's how it was.
Absolutely. And even for me, my mom being a pastor's wife, there's a lot of submission there. But I didn't understand it.
Right.
I was, too young to grasp the concept of lock and step, being a helpmeet to your mate, learning when to ebb and when to flow. I just didn't have a handle on that until I became older. I, got married. I had my own family. And then I started going through my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's when, and that'll also touch on the comment about when do we snap out of our nonsense. When I did a deep dive and a full inventory of myself. That is when the change takes place. And one of the most significant things that my therapist told me was that everything around you may be the same, it may never change, but you have to decide how you're going to either adapt to the change, or you're going to change from the inside out and just do something different. And so that's what I had to do. That's what I had to do. That's what snapped me out. I was about to lose my husband and, the father of my child with my nonsense. And so I had to do inventory and do the hard work myself. Bottom line.
And to that point, I think I shared with you all that, I didn't snap completely out of mine until I was 50. And I thought, because I was making strides, or so I thought, of what I wanted in my life as far as relationships, but unbeknownst to me, I was still picking the wrong people, or allowing the wrong people to pick me, because I did not understand, one, my role, what I should have been expecting from a man, what I should have demanded from that man, and understanding my own personal worth.
Right.
And my personal worth, and when you think about it, your individual worth is not at the expense of somebody else's. It's not.
Nope.
So in certain instances, I was trying to overexert myself in certain situations. So when Danielle said that she saw how I dominated in relationships, well, I didn't look at it that way. I just thought that I was being what a woman should be for a man, but also guarding myself, not realizing, okay, I'm kind of emasculating that person because I thought it was an asset. But conversely,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was trying to give I was trying to be what I thought I deserved or what I was worth at the expense of what they were worth. So
Mm-hmm.
then when I got to the situation with that other person, trying to yield myself, if you will, because I did not want to treat them that same way,
Yeah.
they were feeling, or they were showing signs of trying to demand what they were worth at the expense of what I was worth. So I didn't understand that, and it was culminating and going back to the Tinder swindler. He swindled me.
Mm.
He swindled me because I did not want to continue being that domineering person. So I said, well, let me soften my approach and let me not be so, argumentative, and be a little bit more malleable. But what I didn't realize, I was doing that with the wrong person, who
Oh,
had this
yeah.
facade of
Mm-hmm.
being the kind of man that I wanted, but he had no real job history. He had no real relationships, far as extended family and stuff like that. But I don't blame him. I blame me,
Mm.
because if I would have done my due diligence, hear me, ladies, instead of, when I would see things that didn't seem right and asking him about it and just taking it blind faith, when all accounts showed it was some bullshit, like these ladies on the Tinder swindler,
Yes, Jesus.
and he was dressed nice, all that kind of stuff, talked real good. So dressed nice, suited and booted, wasn't around the way guy, but he was a swindler. He was a fraud. He was a hobosexual.
Mm. 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 Have mercy.
So and then when it finally went to crap and it ended in physical violence, I'm like, why? What's wrong with me? Why do I keep finding myself in these loser situations? And my therapist said, well, Terry, you have not done a deep dive into yourself as to what, what you are really about, what you can really be for a man who's worth something. And so he can identify what you're worth. Because here's the thing, me and Mr. Randolph, we've never had a conversation about submission, ever. But guess what? I fall into where I'm supposed to be. Fall into where I'm supposed to be. It's never this, ever. I'm not saying we don't have disagreements, because we do. But it's never a power play.
Yeah.
It's not getting what I'm worth at the expense of what he's worth, and vice versa. And that's the difference. Let's read. It says many of the people that he has swindled millions from dress.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely they do.
Well, Satan was God's most beautiful angel.
Tell them about it, Toya.
Most beautiful angel. And so, to that point, dressing yourself up, they say you look good, you feel good. And that has a lot of validity to it. But, if you are, just dressing up mess.
And I'm gonna throw this in for free. Okay, so once we broke up with that individual, like the Tinder swindler, he went back on the site that I met him on, and guess what? Posting pictures of my house like it was his.
This is your actual story?
Yeah, yes. Posting pictures of my house by the pool, like it was his pool, was my pool. Posting pictures in clothes that I bought. So I was dumb.
No.
But again, that's how it happens.
Woo.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a story for another day. It says many of these conversations online involving relationship require Black women to be seen and not heard. What are your thoughts? I'm gonna let Toya answer that first.
Lord have mercy. Jesus. And that's the thing that, just sends me into a tailspin of, anger, because it's idiocy. We are human beings, right? Men and women alike. All of us have, my dad used to say, attitudes or opinions are like buttholes. We all have one, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just how we express them. And so what is just grieving my spirit is seeing the complete disconnect between men and women. God made us for each other. As a matter of fact, God made man first, and then he made woman as the helpmeet.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean we get all of that so misconstrued. I am a woman, and I have an opinion, and I have a voice, and I'm going to voice it. I have just as much right to voice it as you do, as a man does. Same thing with men. You have just as much right to voice your opinion, your, whatever it is that's ailing you, or you have that right. But to take us back to 1950s, as she said, seen and not heard. No, women are not. We are much more evolved past that. Now, we do have to learn when to take the key out of the ignition.
Explain that one more again, Toya.
Look, that means, when you turn that key off, guess what? The engine stops, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to learn when to say what we need to say and how to say it. That's for free, as you said, my soul.
Yeah, and that is something I had to learn. Absolutely, because if I was thinking, like you said, if it came up, it came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn that. And here's the thing I also learned. I'm expressing my opinion or my viewpoint on a certain situation, but Mr. Randolph has veto power. And that's just the bottom line. And see, that's evolution, because there was a time if I was in a relationship and I'll just say, even when I was married to my daughter's father, If he said no, I'm gonna find a way to make it happen anyway.
That was me.
I was gonna find a way to make it happen anyway. After he said we're not doing it. So that is what I had to learn, because my husband does not want me to be an inanimate object that can't think for herself. But at the end of the day, I know, and he knows that I know, because I'll give you an example. We moved into this house recently, and this house doesn't have a pool. I need a pool. So he says, well, and so we've been looking at contracts. He said, well, we can't get this house. If we can't get the pool right now, are you going to be okay with it? Are you going to be okay with this house? And I said, well, yeah, I'll be bummed. But if you say no, the answer is no. I mean, and it's true. I'd be bummed on it, but if you say the answer is no, then the answer is going to be no. That's growth.
That's growth.
Because the theory of, I'm like, well, if I do this, we can make it happen. But again, that is what I had to grow into. Yeah. And again, taking the key out of the ignition, because everything is not worth a fight. Absolutely. And what I want more than anything is peace in my house. You heard?
Hello. And it's, the big, let me put this word out there. Respect.
Mm-hmm.
That should be paramount
mm-hmm.
in your relationships. Men and women. It's kind of like do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Mm-hmm. It's about respecting each other. Not looking at, me as a possession, or someone that the young lady said, seen and not heard, or, mm-hmm. women being dismissed because they are women, right. Or men being dismissed because of whatever reasons. It's about mutual respect.
Yes.
We are fighting. Men and women are on, it's like a Ukraine and Russia situation.
It's bad.
And unfortunately, what KS has done, and this is where I said the correction versus the uplift, he has ignited a crop of men that think that they are superior and that women should sit around. This is some of what because I've not seen a whole lot of his, podcast. But what I've seen is, hey, we're the men. We're the authorities. We're superior. And I agree on some levels. We all have our roles. Men have their roles. Women have their roles. And, you learn what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
But just the blanketed message that, I think is disrespectful. And that's why we have so much infighting.
It is. I would agree. And Ace Butterfly said, boom, personal worth, that's a big thing for Black women. I think it's a big thing for people and women in general. And what I mean for personal worth, what I meant for me personally, I wanted a man to be kind to me. I wanted a man to be kind to me, I wanted a man to take care of me. And what I meant by that, not necessarily financially. There's a song by Whitney Houston and Jermaine Jackson, Take Good Care of My Heart.
Yeah.
I wanted that. I wanted to feel that I could share any and everything with you and it was safe with you.
Yeah.
So when I say my worth, it wasn't about how much money you made. Right. It wasn't about what kind of car you drove. It wasn't had to do with your particular profession. I wanted you to be kind to me and give as much to me as I gave to you. Because I always gave a lot. And I'm not saying that all the men that I gave to were not worthy. But sometimes they wouldn't, and this is a flaw of mine, they didn't give because they felt that what they would give me wasn't good enough because of what I made. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, that has nothing to do with what you give me. As far as, interactions, conversations, even picnics or whatever. So I just wanted someone to be kind to me. And again, it's something that even with my husband now, sometimes I still get so emotional because it's the little things he does for me that, just even folding the freaking laundry.
Yeah.
Because he's thinking, I want a man to think of me.
Yeah. That's important.
So, and I think what many women want that. I'm not gonna lie and say that there's some very surface, superficial women. It's true.
Yeah,
You know
absolutely.
this. And those ain't the one you need to be trying to get with.
That's very true.
But many women just want somebody to be kind to them.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk real quick. I know we're gonna you talked about one time you said women talk way too much. Talk about that for a sec.
We do. That's that take the key out of the ignition kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And to your point, you talked about how you wanted to talk to and be safe, have
Yes.
that safe space. I've learned in just being around older women, my mom and her sisters, that, you just give just enough. You don't have to give it all at once. Just kind of eat and learn, learn how to ebb and flow with the information and, pull back
Right.
and, pull ahead. But yeah, we do. We talk too much. We give too much. We show our hand too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And we give, instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to the store, I'll be home in 5. Well, I have to go to the store and then I need to stop by the post office and then I need to go and I need to run by mama's. I need to watch. Men don't want to hear all that.
They don't care.
I don't even want to hear all of that. Like, really? And so that can be aggravating.
Mm-hmm.
That could be aggravating for some men because men are, and I'm not saying, please don't get me wrong, man. I'm not saying this broad-based. It's situational. However, most men scientifically, biologically don't need all of that. Yes or no or do.
And you know what? Who taught me some of the stuff? If you've ever watched Judge Judy, don't give her more than what she's asking for.
I didn't ask for all of that.
Do not, and men are the same way. Do not. She said yes or no. Don't get. And so I had to learn that because again, we women, we feel like we got to explain everything.
No.
Okay, so here's another. He said there's a movement of Black men to look overseas for a wife or date interracially. Have either of you dated interracially? If not, would you consider it?
So I have. I dated a Hispanic man before, and I'll just say it was a different experience. If I were not married at this, point juncture, would I date interracially? It's possible. It's possible. Yeah, I'll just say that it's possible.
And interestingly enough, when I was stationed in San Diego, that had to be between 2000 and 2003. I dated a man who was Caucasian and Hispanic. He was white and Mexican, and I really liked him, and he really liked me. I completely messed it up because I was moving too fast. I wanted to just lock him down. So again, not knowing that I needed to let the man lead. So I was doing too much, and I think it ran him off. And he really liked me. He liked me, and my mom, everybody liked him, but I just, I wanted to lock it down. And a lot of times we'll do that if we're fearful of, we're not as confident in ourselves as we truly believe we are. And that was a time that I was not. And interestingly enough, I've shared with this before where my daughter is concerned. My son-in-law is a Black man, but her very first love was a young Caucasian man. And I have shared that, as a mother of a Black child, I wanted her first boyfriend to be a Black young man. But in high school, none of the Black guys were acting right. they were treating, they were not acting right. They were athletes. I mean, they just weren't acting right. But this young man, Matthew, he treated my daughter like a freaking princess. He
Mm.
was such a gentleman from a military family. When he came to pick her up for her first date, he came to his mom, brought him to the house to pick her up because he wasn't driving. Brought my daughter a rose, brought me a plant. This very respectful, and just open doors for her and stuff like that. And those are the things that I wanted her to experience, and hopefully she would have experienced from a Black young man, but she didn't. But I credit Matthew in showing her what she was worth. So when she met a young man like Kevondrick, she could appreciate what kind of young man he was because she had seen it before.
Yeah.
And she did not look at it, oh, he's just, or they call men like that a simp in these spaces. No, he just knows how to treat a woman.
Right.
And he treated her with respect and dignity. And she definitely reciprocated. So in answer to the question, yeah, I dated, a Hispanic male. I think that was the only one I dated. If I wasn't married, I'd be open to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I love my Hershey's chocolate, Mr. Randolph.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, indeed.
Okay, so Joanna, she says she's a soror. Hey, soror. Genesis 1:27. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them both. Absolutely.
Yes. Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen to that. And so that's why I don't I understand it, of course, theoretically, but this big breakout now of the fight between men and especially, I can't talk to the Caucasian side of things because I don't see that.
Right.
But I see just this, oh my God, between our Black men and women. And it's not just the younger ones, it's a lot of the older ones. I'm seeing men and women my age that are just, fighting it out and, cursing each other out in groups. And it's just a huge mess. And it grieves my heart to see it because we should be uplifting each other. We should be running to the defense of my African American brother or my African American sister, even if it isn't romantic.
Right.
But we're tearing each other down. And, I fault some of the KS movement, but I fault individuals way more. Because we should, when you get to a certain level in life, I'm learning to not say age because age doesn't equal maturity or, any level of intelligence, if you will, or wisdom, I'll say. But we should be checking ourselves constantly.
Yeah. And when we make a misstep, we should never be too big to say, you know what, I was wrong.
Yeah, that is it.
Ooh. Y'all hear Ralphie?
Yes, I have him quarantined. I have him quarantined.
And he is not pleased.
He is quarantined. Yes.
Yeah. RM Judge Judy does not play with them. Okay, look. She does not play.
Not at all.
I love her. I'm just saying. When a man is full within himself, he has ample generosity, integrity, and respect. You know what? Here's the thing. My husband, and again, I'm grateful because Toya has talked about doing the work. Had I not done the work, and see, the work is continuous. Whew. Okay? I'm not saying that I check the box and I'm done. But at least now I have the self-awareness to say, okay, I'm not quite well in this area. I need some help. I need to reach out for this help. And I can share that with my husband. So he knew what he was getting. Yes. Straight out. But again, to your point, he is so content and confident in his person.
Yeah.
He ain't trying to impress nobody. He is who he is.
Yeah.
You know, whether he has a suit on or whether he has jeans and a t-shirt. He is, and again, it shows. And I'm grateful that I did the necessary, at least begun the process of the necessary work so I could see him when he showed up and not mess it up.
Woo, come on.
Because I just said I messed up the other guy because again I'm trying to, and that's another thing he said. One of the things that made me different from the women that was trying to date him is that they were trying to lock him down, cha-ching, So again, I learned, let it flow, let him lead, and follow his lead.
Organic, just organically let it happen. In God's own time, if it is for you, it is nothing that you can do to destroy it.
Okay, you make it sound like you used to be. I was.
I was.
But thank God for grace. Do you understand me?
Yes, Lord.
And here, Mandrill, check this out. Like I said, I couldn't guarantee that I was going to be married. So I sure couldn't guarantee it for nobody else. Well, when that situation happened with my version of, I'm going to call him the black people meet creep, because that's where I met him.
The black people meet creep.
Creep, yeah. When that happened, I was at one of my lowest points. And I mean that I'm like, I've got to fix this for me. And you get to a point that, particularly when you get to be in your 50s, you have to reconcile the fact, for as a woman is concerned, because there are far more women on this than men, particularly as far as black men and black women. I had to reconcile the fact that, Terry, you might be by yourself. But if you're going to be by yourself, be content and be the best self you can be.
Yeah.
So I was on that journey, and prayerfully it happened for me. But I wanted to be better, so at least when the red flags, when I would encounter someone like the Tinder swindler or the black people meet creep or whatever, that I didn't turn a blind eye to it, because I knew what I was worthy of and how I wanted to be treated.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. But yeah, and kind of what Toya says, some of my handfulness came from my ace. Because like I said, some of the things I saw my mother deal with, I'm like, I'll be damned.
Mm-hmm. But most things, if we dig deep enough, comes from our ace. All of us, I don't care. You could come from the Cosby Show type background, just the most, which you see the image of.
Right.
And still have ace. It just depends on, everybody has some kind of level of breaking, some kind of level of sensitivity, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't have to be anything like my mom was, an alcoholic, or my dad was a drug. It doesn't have to be that extreme. It could be, something as little as my mom wouldn't let me eat at the table with the adults. It could be anything. And so if we are open to addressing our issues, that's where the healing begins. And if men, I've said this to my, guy friends before, if you want to be a leader in your family, then you have to stand up and be a leader in your family. No one is preventing you from necessarily being the man. It starts with you. And that goes for, women as well. We have to show up as the best versions of ourselves. And let me tell you, I'm like you, Terry. I'm not showing up here on my righteous. I have had to go through fire and brimstone to get to where I am at this point. And I still have a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Still have a long way to go.
But one of the things that I think, but even in that, I think this is the most at peace I've been with who I am.
Me too.
In my life.
Yep.
Y'all see me come on here with my baseball hat and a t-shirt, no makeup. Y'all can see the puffy bags under my eyes, and then you see me somewhat put together because I'm okay. No, because again, it's not about the dressing that makes my image. It's not about what I put on, it's who I am.
Yeah. Hello, come on.
And I'm okay with that.
And I would hope that more men would ask questions because, I don't believe in, it's just one gender's fault or it's just the other gender. We all have valid points to make, right?
Yes,
we
absolutely.
all have to live in this world. And we all have to deal with each other or engage with each other. And so it's not a matter of fighting or pointing the fingers. Now, some people do that.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of, let's get along. What are the problems? What's the inherent problems? Let's get to the root of it so that we can move past it and become more amenable with each other.
And we must stop using a wide brush to paint everybody.
That's right.
I'm going to implore you all. Sometimes you need to take a step back from YouTube. I'm just saying, or Instagram, because if I was not married and I was on these spaces, I'm like, well, damn, I'm doomed. Seriously, I'm doomed.
Yeah.
So I appreciate y'all coming to watch me some, stuff. But again, I want y'all to get out into the real world and interact with folk, have conversations with folk, and not relegate all women to this one box or relegate all men to this box. Because here's the thing, there's some places on here that talk about the Waiting to Exhale movies, The Color Purple, and Stella Got a Groove Back movies, and how these movies were basically movies made out of hurt. Okay, I will agree with that. But what's different than what's happening now with men? These platforms are in part, not totally, but in part, are based on hurt.
Yeah.
And this is the platform that you're able to express this hurt. Maybe not for you individually, but for those that whether it be your relatives, your friends. It's part of that.
Yeah.
But one thing, how do you fix a community? You fix a community one person at a time.
That's it.
And you start with your community in your own house. I'm just saying.
Yes, ma'am.
You be the marriage, and not to say, like Toya said, there's no perfect marriage, but you be what people want to see, and not to say that you're not going to have your individual struggles, because any relationships that has a struggle. But that's how you fix a community, not trying to take it on as a whole. That's too overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
That's too overwhelming. But if I can, be the best wife I can be the best mother to my daughter and grandmother and mother-in-law, and be a good friend, a good daughter, and good, all those things, I'm sharing that, then that gives someone else say, well, maybe I need to start in my community, meaning in my own world. Because everybody's not going to get, pick up what you're putting down, but one person might.
That's true.
So we're gonna I put the link in there. I'm giving wait a few more minutes if somebody wants to come up, because I want to wrap this up at 8:00, because I don't want to keep you too much longer. But Ace Butterfly is saying Black men think Black women are lying about their experiences. In your daughter's situation, look how early in her life it's true. She was in high school.
Man.
She was in high school.
That saddens me, though.
I'm gonna tell you something. It saddens me for that, but it also saddens me that I have nephews, adopted nephews and real life nephews, who've dated women that are young women outside of their race. And I said, well, why didn't you date a nice long Black girl? Well, they're not nice to me.
Mm-hmm.
In high school.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
In high school.
It's being perpetuated. Starts at home. then it's perpetuated out, and then it spreads just like coronavirus.
Can't tell the sisters that though.
It's a whole epidemic of its own. And this younger generation, I told my son, I feel sorry for you guys. And it's sad still because they don't care at all. At all.
What you got, Mandrell?
Yeah, TJ. What I wanted to add is that the people that what I find one of the most common things I find these days is that people don't seem to have the stamina for a long-term relationship, let alone a marriage. You know, because marriage, I mean, you're talking 40, 50 years with a person, depending on when you get married, you know. Yeah. And it's like when things get tight, not even hard, they just get tight. You have a disagreement, you bump heads about something. I've seen relationships end where people just had a disagreement about something simple, and then the woman's out. When it comes to stuff like that, it's not the men that are leaving. I don't know a single guy who left a relationship because things got a little, you know, well, I think this, well, I think that. And then the woman's like, well, forget it. I can't deal with this. I'm just like, I got friends that this happens to. It's happened to me before as well, but I've got friends that this has happened to. And then, you know, you get around other people, you know, you're just talking to, you know, random people, you're out meeting people or whatever. And then these guys have the same story. All these guys have the same story. You know what I mean? It just seems like, I'm like, what? How do you fix that? I think part of the problem is that, you know, women are raised to be independent, and there's nothing wrong with that. They should be raised to be able to take care of themselves and go and be successful and all that. But the problem is, the biggest problem I see is that they're not taught to cooperate with men. Men, we're kind of raised that way. If you had a father in the house, or even if you had a mother in the house, in a lot of cases, in a lot of single mother households with a boy, a lot of those cases, not all, but a lot of them, they are taught to take care of women and, you know, be there for her and all that. Whether they do it or not, different story, but we know. We have the knowledge and we know what to do. Again, whether we do it or not, that's a different story, but what is it with women just leaving over nothing?
Can I ask a question? I know you're not supposed to answer a question with a question, but to your point about, I'll make a comment first. You know, it depends on how conflict resolution was handled, you know, I think in households. You know, if you have seen, like Terry mentioned, she saw some things in her house that made her the way she was. I saw some things in my household that made me the way I was, but not necessarily being taught how to resolve. Like my parents were married 53 years. And it was a beautiful love story, but there were times I'm like, you guys need to just go your separate ways, because I saw a lot of toxicity too. So it's not being taught necessarily. You're just seeing, kids are just observing, and parents are not talking and educating them on the importance of communication, and not just communication, because communication can be me flipping you off, but effective communication. So, and let me go and answer your question. What is with that? Women fleeing, you know, or not giving commitment to the relationships, just when anything goes wrong. What I've seen in my background and what I've seen even in my professional life, one thing our African American men have to get better at is not just hearing, but listening. And what I mean by that is, if I tell you, and this is a conversation my husband and I have had, if I say, honey, you know, I would love for us to have date night every Saturday or twice a month or whatever. And he hears that, you know, that's not unreasonable, right?
Right.
But then 3 months, we may go this Saturday, we may go next Saturday, we may go the next Saturday, but then after that, things just kind of fall off. There's no consistency. There's no real listening that this is important to me. This is something that is important to me. Same thing with, men, you got to express yourselves as what you want. What is it that you desire? Let's, treat each other respectfully. Let's listen and then fulfill that. A lot of women my age, they stay in like our moms do until we have had enough. That's when we leave because you are not listening. That's the biggest argument my husband and I have. You're not really hearing me. That's the best I can give you, is to listen more. Women and men need to listen more to each other.
Yeah. Okay, but what if 1 weekend he just doesn't feel like going out?
Let me answer that. Let me answer my part.
Go ahead.
I would agree with what Toya is saying, in the sense that, as far as women are not taught to cooperate, and I'm gonna be honest with you, up until KS started talking about this, I'm like, shit, none of us were taught that. You know what I mean? I mean, because again, because when you consider the generation, you're not going to be sitting here. Your mom is not going to be saying, this is what you need to do to cooperate with a man. She just did it. Yep. And so it baffles my mind that he acts like this shit, it wasn't consciously done. No one was going to sit there and say, well, this is what you do. Because we thought being a good wife was cooking, cleaning,
yep,
taking care of kids, managing the household, and sex. That's it. But what about the other stuff? What about the communication, the disagreements? None of that. None of that. So but you saw it. You, like Toya, you saw her mom and dad. So you thought, okay, well, that's what it looks like. So that's what I'm going to do. But because we're not taught the other part of it, of what happens when you do have disagreements, how do you resolve that? We don't know what to do.
That's true.
That's the part.
The communication part.
We don't taught that. We just taught the basics: cook, clean, sex, take care of kids. I mean, but again, there's more to it than that. And again, how do you handle a disagreement?
Right.
What do you do when we're not taught that. We're not taught that. So even myself, and when my mom was not married, I mean, and even with my daughter, she didn't see that. She saw me in relationships. She even taught me in a relationship with her dad. But she didn't see, she just saw me cook, clean, take care of her. She saw us arguing, but she didn't see how we resolved it. And we sure weren't going to have conversations with our child about, well, this is how you resolve. It just didn't happen. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying what it is.
It is. It is what it is.
So when we find ourselves in those situations, because we didn't know how to resolve, and because we think, okay, if someone is coming at me, they must be disrespecting me. They must not, like, F that, I'm out. But we just don't know how to resolve. That's a part of it. Because me and Mr. Rand, and like Toya said, me and Mr. Randolph had disagreements. We don't have fights. But we had a disagreement where he raised his voice at me one time. And I told him how it made me feel. And because again, going back to that ace, because that's a triggering thing for me.
Yep.
Going back to that ace, when that happened, it was shutting me down. So I told him about it. We've never had it again.
Right. No doubt. As soon as you said you told him how it made you feel, that's why I was like, oh, that did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if a man cares about you, you tell him, that's the thing. If I'm doing something and you tell me, I don't like that, stop doing this. I'm like, why? I just told you the truth. Because you know how I am, TJ. You've met me a few times now. You know I'm going to tell you the truth directly, regardless. You don't have to like it. You're not always going to like what I say. But when I tell you something, you know I'm telling you the truth. That's just me every day, all day. But when a woman tells me, this is how that makes me feel, switch. Now I'm working out different ways to tell you how to get the message to you without doing it that way again.
But that's what just Toya said. You were listening, though.
Yep, you were listening.
Mr. Randolph was listening. Because I'm gonna give you another example. This didn't have to do with me. I had a friend that we dated, and I call him a friend because we're cool. We don't really engage anymore. But when we were dating, he was telling me about that his wife left him, and they were together for a long time. And when we were dating, he was working so much, and we could hardly get a time together. I'm like, you don't have time to date anybody. He said, well, my ex-wife said that. And so the more I got to know him, the more he kept telling me that, because they had been together for years. And ultimately she cheated on him, and I don't agree with that. I said, I don't agree with what she did. I said, but let me tell you what you did wrong. She kept telling you, I need you to spend more time with me. I need you to spend time with our girls. I need when you're here with the family to be here with the family, not falling asleep at dinner. I said, you weren't listening to her. I said, she kept telling you. I said, I don't agree with what she did at all. I said, but you weren't listening to her. And you kept saying, well, I'm working for the family, blah, blah, blah. But she told you that she needed more time with you as a couple. She needed more time with you to spend with the family. She needed you engaged, and you weren't doing it. I said, so you are as much at fault as for the demise of this relationship as she is. I said, now she stepped out, and that's wrong. But had you listened to her,
maybe it would have worked out differently.
Exactly. Because they've been together for like 18 years.
That's important. And then you can't make it about you. Right. When I come to you as my spouse or my significant other, and I say, hey, this is how this makes me feel, or I would like for you to do this, that, and the other. Well, I'm working because I got pay for the house. I got to do this for the house. That's not it's a legitimate argument, but it's not, because I'm coming to you based on what it is I need individually, and you're not listening. So that, to Terry's point,
and it's just like the man that comes to his wife said, I need some sex. I need to because let me tell you something, and this is what I learned from in this relationship that I did not learn before. Me and my husband went through premarital counseling before we got married, and me and my daughter's father, before we got married, we hadn't. Our counselor, who was a spiritual counselor, he said, men need 3 things. They need intimacy. No, they need respect, loyalty, and intimacy.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. That's all I'm asking for, ladies.
I've never, but see, again, this is a 50-something-year-old me who got a hold of it. When I got married to my daughter's father in my 30s, I didn't know that. I'm like, shit, I'm tired. Well, seriously, I work just like you do. I'm tired. But again, that was a wrong mindset.
Just lay there. I'll be done in a few minutes.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's all you gotta do.
But again, it goes back to what we were talking about. I wasn't taught what a wife, and that is the responsibility of the wife. But I wasn't taught that.
Yeah.
Right. And see, the thing is, the intimacy thing for me, like that's like, I mean, I know I'm a person who just like, you have to get to know me. I'm one of those people, because I come off one way at first, but when you talk to me, like, oh, he's not like that at all. I mean, okay, I get it now. I get it. But so for me, intimacy is a very important thing, because when, I'm not expressive a lot, with things like that, but in the intimacy, that's when it comes out. You know what I'm saying? And so that's an important thing for me, because I'm looking at it like this. I want her to enjoy this too. So I'm not a selfish lover. Never have been, But so that part, I'm like, okay, why would I want to hold out on that? Doesn't she want it too? And if the guy's looking out for her, and see, it's not just the intimacy part. That's not it. It's the communication and what I'm saying? Like women, it's like women don't communicate, and neither do guys. I mean, because fellas, if you want her to do these things, we just don't
communicate effectively with each other.
There you go.
We do. But Toya, what you were about to say something?
No, I was just gonna say, there are everything, and I guess me coming from the mental health space, everything is rooted in trauma. That's just like the root cause, and there are 4 educationally, there are 4 responses to trauma: fight, flight,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one called freeze, where you just, shut down, and fawn, FAWN. And fawn is where you're just a people pleaser. Okay, I'm gonna, go along to get along. I'm gonna, I've heard women, especially, and men say, I don't want no drama, so I'm just gonna go along to get along.
I got a friend of mine right now. He's a young guy. He's married, and he's like that. He believes the whole happy wife, happy life thing. I'm like, okay, I see you doing all this stuff for your wife. Are you getting that back? Because I don't.
Right.
And I tell him, I'm not trying to cause a rift here. But however, if you're not getting that back, dude, this is going to catch up with you both. And it's something you need to address now, not in a yelling way, but I mean, you talk to her about it. If you're not getting this back, and see, for me, that's when I leave a relationship. And you have ample time. You have plenty of chances. I tell you what's going on. If I'm doing all this for you, I'm expecting you to give the same amount of effort back to me. You might not might not meet up to what I'm doing or whatever the case may be in various ways, but if I see you trying and I see that you do care, I don't have anything to complain about. That's
Toya,
it. Just try.
What were you saying, Toya? You were about to say something else?
No, I was just saying that, it's with those, traumatic events, that if we bring all of that baggage, into the relationships, and I'm going to, be steady and constant about the message that if we don't address what those issues are, it is going to always be prevalent in our relationships. And so that's why it's important that we do inventory on self, because your reaction to somebody may be different when you get with someone else. 2 individuals, everything doesn't just carry over from one individual to another. One thing doesn't happen or work with this person, and it may work with the next person.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to just be able to communicate to each other what you want, what you expect within reason.
Yeah. Right, within reason.
Within reason. But it's not happy wife, happy life. It's happy spouse, happy house.
Right.
Because I've
never heard that before.
Individuals have needs. Both individuals have expectations. You're human. You cannot not have expectations. You're human.
Right.
And so just learning how to express what that is important, and how tone and tenor are important. Oh my God.
It's so important, because going back to, we're going to wrap it up after, but that going back to that Black people meet creep. I told him about something that was very traumatic for me, because I had a really bad car accident in 2004, and I was on the passenger side. So anytime I'm on the passenger side and in certain moves, it just tenses me up. And so he was the kind of person that would just drive erratically. And I'm just, by the time we get to our destination, I'm just like a cat, just shaking. Right. So I shared that with him. And going back to the point that you made, Mandrell, I shared that with him, and despite me sharing that with him, he continued the same behavior.
Thought it was funny.
He didn't give a fuck. Excuse me. I mean, he didn't give a damn, because one time we got to a place, and I was pissed because I was nervous, and he cursed me out.
What's with the cursing? I'm sorry. Listen, all this crazy behavior from people is alien to me.
And again, but when I had the same conversation with Mr. Randolph, because he drives for a living, he's a truck driver, and he's very safe. But I just let him know sometimes. But I've never had to say it again. So again, to your friend and anything else, one thing I know for sure: one person can't want a relationship enough for 2 people.
That's right. It takes 2 to tango.
That's true. I think most people have learned that lesson, including myself. I remember my first love, my high school sweetheart. I learned that lesson with her. One person can't want a relationship enough for 2 people.
Nope.
I learned that lesson early,
And
man.
it's definitely like that in the marriage. And then, Toya talked about some of the challenges she had not in depth, but she said she had to get her mind right because she wanted her marriage.
Yeah.
So what I would submit to you, young Mandrell, is if you encounter, because I'm not stupid enough to think that there are not some superficial women out here. There are. And
I run
again,
into them
social media,
all the time.
then they ain't yours.
No, they're not. That's why I leave them.
They're not yours.
That's when people ask me, why am I still single and not married? I'm like, just depends on who I run into. But I'm not going to stop looking because I keep running into. I will go into this with the mindset is I might run into 1,000 women who are the same way. They're just not for me. But I'm not going to stop because you never know that 1,001 might be it.
That's it.
And those
I
people,
like your attitude with that. I love that presentation, because that is going to be what brings that right one to you, that you don't, get jaded.
Yeah.
Because of all of those other thousands. But that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing on both sides of the aisle, men and women are jaded against one another because they've kissed 50 frogs.
And they're tired of the taste of frog.
Right. And it's just like, okay, I'm just giving up. And I've heard, women young, like 20 years younger than I am, saying, oh, no, I'm done. I'm, done with. And that saddens me because there is your one somewhere.
Somebody, okay, Ace Butterfly says, Mandrell, be honest, are men as willing to work on things they don't even like going to counseling? Now, there's some truth there. There's some truth there.
The counseling thing, I agree with. I mean, you got a lot of guys who just, I guess it's a machismo thing, with the counseling. Me, I stopped working to tackle my, to go get therapy. Like, I stopped working. I moved states. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was living in Atlanta. And so it was one day I was just, I was at work and I wasn't at work. It was on lunch break, right? And I was talking to somebody and I was like, my God, I really have a problem, don't I? And it kind of hit me just like that. And I was like, okay, it's time to do something about this. So I looked at my finances and I was like, okay, I got this much. If I start working, I still got this much money coming in a month, right? That's, TJ, prior military and then the VA compensation.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Not a, what I'm saying? Even me, I don't have a full pension from the Army. It's a partial because of the time I spent in. But that plus the stuff I get from the VA, I'm good. Right. Then I looked at how much money I had saved up because I worked too much. I said, "Oh, what am I worried about?" I gave him a 4-week notice. Hey, here you go.
But you were self-aware to know that you needed to do it, and I think,
and
again, if you're willing to do it for yourself, if you are in a relationship, men and women, because there have been some women in marriages that won't go to counseling either. Yeah. I'm like, then you don't want it bad enough, because if you're in a marriage, you should be willing to do whatever is necessary, explore all possibilities to keep it together. And if someone is not willing to do that, that sends a signal too that it's not that important. That's just my intake on it. But Mandrell, it's almost 8:15. I didn't have my soror on here long. I'm gonna go ahead and drop you down. But thank you, Nick, for coming up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I placed her.
Sure did. Look, she made me.
I made her.
She did a good job too. It was nice meeting you, Tanya.
Nice meeting you too, man.
Toya, yeah,
and listen, my wish, my prayer, my hope for you, your one is out there. Do not give up hope. Don't be, downtrodden. Keep on. This one out there, some good ones.
And when you meet her, you can send it to your auntie. I'll bet.
Okay.
And she'll bet.
I'll bet.
I'm gonna look forward to that. I'll send it to you too, for real.
Yeah,
let me know what you think about this one. Yeah.
Because that's one thing they said back in the day. The men would vet the men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the women would vet the women. I think it still works.
It does. I think so too.
I'm here for it.
Don't lower your standard. Don't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm.
Ooh, right.
I like that.
My standards aren't that high either. It's just
Okay. I'm gonna go
All
ahead
right.
and drop you down,
All
Mandrill.
right.
Thank you for
Thank you for
calling
having.
in.
Thank you for having
Of
me.
All
course.
right, Mandra, have a good
See
one.
y'all later.
Bye. Canadian born, I can't get you because we about to close it up. But thank you, honey. I can't get you. Okay. So, any last words, lovely Toya Dumas Robinson?
I have just thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Of course, we can't tackle everything in an hour or 2 hours,
Right.
but I'm just hopeful that we as a culture of people can come together. Men and women can just find our happy place, and start kind of opening up ourselves a little bit more to the resources that are available to us.
And like you said, not taking, our aces with us. Well, and we still may take them, but we have to acknowledge them and start fixing them. Because again, I've been very clear with my aces with Mr. Randolph, and if that person is about you,
Yeah. Yep.
they're not gonna run from it.
That's it. That's it.
Because I will tell you, when I shared my story with Mr. Randolph, he said, "Well, I have to." He said, "I don't understand." He said, "But I'm here for you, and I'm not going anywhere."
Oh, I love Mr. Randolph. I love it. I love it. Love it. I appreciate you having me on. I really have enjoyed it.
Absolutely. I love it. And thanks so much for coming on. We'll do it again, I'm sure.
Well, I am available.
Yes. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and drop you down, and I'll get back with you in just 1 second.
Okay, dear.
Okay. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. I had so much fun, and hopefully we chopped it up and answered some questions and kind of dug into some stuff. And it's not a one size fits all. But again, you're hearing the insights from women that are, we've lived a little bit, we've experienced some things, and we're not saying that we got it all right. We still works in progress. As long as we are above ground, we have opportunity to get it right. And we're pursuing that every day. And, to my nephew Mandrell and all my Courtney Michelle nieces and my Lucky Marie nieces and adopted nieces, if y'all not married and y'all aspire that, I pray that for you as well. But again, know what you're worth. Men and women. Don't be getting no Tinder swindlers. Don't be getting no black people meet creeps, because females can be creeps too. Just keep it 1,000 wow. But keep your mind open to the possibilities. So until next time, if you have any ideas of what you want me to talk about, leave them in the chat or send me an email. My email is in the description. But also check out my new Music Vault channel. Specifically, if y'all trying to get some romantic ideas or some music, some real music or real love songs. I know some people in this space said, marriage is a business. It's not about love. I don't agree with that. But everybody has their opinion, like, Toya said. But anywho, thank y'all for tuning in. And until the next time, bye-bye.